Okay, I'd like to call the Corporation County Bruce Corporate Services Committee Finance and Property Division to order and ask anybody to declare pecuniary interest either now if it arises down the agenda. Seeing none. Action items, presentation of the 2016 Q1 business plan updates. First up, Kelly.
Through you, Mr. Warden, the first opening comments I thought would be worthwhile sharing was yesterday I had been invited to serve as a moderator for a session that occurred, a leaders forum on building an outcome-based organization. And the keynote of that day was a gentleman by the name of Matthew Mendelson, who many of you have probably heard of. He was the founding member of the Mowat Center and has been appointed as the Director for Results and Delivery at the federal government, which is a new, and they're in the starting point of doing what we have been doing. And as I said to a couple of the directors when I got back yesterday, it was quite gratifying that Bruce County is getting recognized for a lot of the work that you have been leading. And the one key piece that was talked about yesterday that is very timely for our session today is once your organization has started to measure outcomes, it really starts to change how quickly and how responsive your organization can be, because people get used to the language and the motivations for implementing very outcome-based solutions to whatever the issues were. So, as I say, it was a tribute to all of you, because it was quite exciting to hear parts of the dialogue. And with that, I'll move into the update for Q1 for the annual business plan for the CAO's office. On the key performance indicators, everything remains stable. None of the goals in the key performance indicators are in jeopardy at this point. The percent of total operating costs for governance remains at 1.58 versus our projected of 1.6. So we've been really monitoring that quite closely. The staff connected with traditional service departments of finance, clerk, HR, and IT is back up to a full complement, and the percent of annual projects delivered on time and on budget at this point, I can't report on that. It's a wee bit early in the process. And finally, the projects with goals of innovation and cost containment. The only cautionary comment that I would make to committee this morning is, as was reported in January, we have a total of 92 combined projects. You're going to hear from a number of departments where they're making a recommendation to retime a couple of projects. I think it's going to take our total from 92 down to 85. But even at that level, we have a lot of work that is in play, and it's a tribute to the directors that they have full confidence in their teams that they will deliver the reports, or the projects, I should say. So the CAO's office, the three primary major objectives for 2016 are before you. I will comment that in talking with the senior managers and leaders of the organization, we had talked a lot about how to present so that we're giving a fulsome update to committee and highlighting all of the work that's been done, but that we're not down talking about the worms, let alone the weeds of operations. So what is before you is the summary sheet has been slightly modified, so you'll see the first quarter update, and each director will talk at the summary sheet level to go through each major project. If there's anything that we haven't discussed or that you'd like more information on, we would be happy to respond to those. The balance of the annual business plan is as has already been presented to you, so there's no change beyond the summary sheet just for clarity, and we thought it would work well. So with that, the 150th year anniversary, as all of you are well aware, 2017 is Bruce County's 150th birthday. The cross-functional team is being led by Anne-Marie Collins, the archivist working under Kathy McGurr, and she will be presenting to you in May all of the work that committee has done in terms of their basically their program for 2017, and we're hopeful that you'll support it and enjoy it. We have also very much enjoyed having past warden Oswald serve on the committee. He has been a terrific addition to the work. In terms of the second item, we had identified at the end of last year that we had a series of policies, in particular connected to the finance function and HR function, that needed to be modernized, and the three cross-functional teams have done some really amazing work. You'll recall the branding and imaging has already been brought forward to you. The second two, one being the mileage and expense claim item, and the third being procurement, are well on their way. The mileage and alternative work and adverse weather policies have been drafted. They're going forward to the senior management team next week, and then our goal is to have them before you in May. And this particular team really deserve a tremendous amount of credit because of all the policies to have to work on. These ones directly impact the employees. They're what they do every day, and they have been, and the draft policies are representative and show that level of work. The procurement policy team, similarly, it is the policy that, pardon me, but it's the policy everybody loves to hate. It's a guiding policy that we live by, and it's important, and it's critical to the very foundation and control of the organization in terms of the financial piece. The team that have been working on this initiative, being led by Gary Gray and Sherry Dillon, have again been very committed to it, and I think you'll be quite pleased with the modifications that they are going to be presenting to you. Our goal for that group is to have it back to you in either June or July for your ultimate support if you like what you see. And then finally, the education and operational stability. Cohorts 3 and 4 are well underway with Loyalist. We have talked that the Loyalist program, the certificate program, has 15 modules. It is very broad and inclusive in content. And we would like to now, we've done certainly the majority of the management team with the county, and we now think we have a great opportunity to introduce Loyalist Lite for those that are subject experts in supervisory capacity, and gives them exposure that will then allow them in future, when they move into a leadership role, that we could then have them complete the certificate program. That will come forward to you for the 2017 year. And with that, I can answer any questions if you wish, Mr. Warden.
Thank you, Kelly. Questions from committee? Milt?
Your key performance indicators, the operating cost towards governance, what is a typical number that you see in government?
Through you, Mr. Warden, this comparing apples to apples, in this measurement, it is the legislative services and county council. So when you look at apples to apples, normal is about 3%, between 2.5% and 3%.
With other jurisdictions?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Other questions?
Why are we
sorry.
why are we low? Go ahead. Tell
Because the elected officials are very disciplined in how they spend county money.
that wasn't the answer I was looking for.
Yes, it was. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to corporate services.
Actually, our Director of Medical Services next. with
Thank you
Bruce
very
Lee.
much. Another
Present.
appointment.
Okay.
Oh, did we got? Thank you very much.
What time did you have to? 12 o'clock? Okay. So we'll maybe go to close about 11:30 or so. Okay.
Good morning. I would like to start, please, with the Gateway Haven business plan first. On the key performance indicators, we have, in both homes, we report on 16 indicators. 5 are what we call county indicators, and we have 11 Ministry of Health key indicators. At Gateway Haven, 8 out of the 16, total 16 indicators, they're doing very well at the end of the first quarter in 2016. And at Bruce Lee Haven, they're in this first quarter, we're only really doing extremely well in 1 of the 11. However, I do foresee that towards the end of Q2, certainly into Q3, because of the initiatives that Bruce Lee Haven is now working on to enhance these indicators and the care that's provided there, I foresee that we'll be meeting a number of the benchmarks in those other remaining 10 Ministry of Health indicators by the end of Q2, beginning of Q3. Moving on to the initiatives. At Bruce Lee Haven, there were 6 major initiatives, and as I've already indicated, the first, second really are joint initiatives, and I've already reported on them when I report on Gateway Haven. Number 3 initiative in regard to enhancing public relations in the community. No new work has been we haven't engaged in any new work until the administrator role is completed at Bruce Lee Haven. Major initiative, the arch lift and tub replacement, purchased and to be installed by April the 1st. That as the energy audit, as like Gateway, has been completed for Bruce Lee Haven. That's really the end.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions from committee? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Corporate services, the key performance indicators, just highlighting the update at the end of Q1. So new insurance, and we just identify that these are our claims that attract the 20, and to date, they're to report the average invoice processed weekly. It's a benchmark. Some of that will change as our operations change. Introduce payments, but this is actually the number of invoices of how we pay as we try to become more efficient in that method. State budget presented to council without anything identified there, but the budget presentation or the schedule that you received today will identify that we are actually on target and looking to pass that budget depending on the process that we manage. The Freedom of Information requests, we one to date, no change in what we're doing with our goods and services, then at the 90%. The numbers that are currently enrolled are expected to complete that program in 2016. The total website visits, which you received a report last week, which and highlighted what are, I think, is interesting, and I think there was to update you that is that we're on track to have because the number of, in particular, even our Adventure Passport and Explore the Bruce, and weren't a lot of winter, they still continue to get receive the looking at how they could explore. The one that otherwise that museum photo site, and that continues. Last year we had 160,000 visits to that, and at the end of our first quarter we were almost at 55,000, so it would identify that I think that one is becoming continues. The museum gathers those photos. Launched we had but at the quarter we're at almost 16,000 visits already. So, and we also just tickets that which keeps our IT service on a daily basis, and the email messages. When we first did these KPIs, how much business is taken care of on email, and that's the average received and the output, and then the number of email accounts that are hosted. The increase at the end of Q1 at 937. We're looking at our what we call our directory and making sure we have the proper email accounts and distribution accounts established as we move forward. We have 7 initiatives across corporate services, and the first one, actually I should identify that most of them recognize that it's staff time absorbed, and we don't do cost accounting, but it is a recognition that this is staff time, current staff that have their day-to-day responsibilities, and then how we utilize them and manage to take on the other initiatives to complete. And certainly one that we are excited about is the revised capital forecast template, and also looking at multi-year budgeting. Also, how do we take program budget, the model that we utilized for the 2016 budget, and how do we continue to improve on that. So we are progressing, certainly the capital side of that, in particularly with our transportation and social housing operations, to ensure that that asset management plan, which will encompass all of our assets, but based on the 2015 year-end results, that we hope to be present during the summer months, but to have that available for our directors to be able to move forward with the capital budget. So looking at changing that model a bit so that there's a better understanding of what the capital is, not only for future years, but particularly in the current year, and how that impacts what our levy is for capital purposes, and then combined with the operations. The finance team is prepared to react to the results of the procurement cross-functional team, and looking forward to preparing the necessary standards and procedures. So in preparation for that, though, looking at our current processes and begun some simple changes initiated, and then also how do we move forward, whether it's a commitment accounting and purchase order system as part of that review. The risk management strategy and the new position that is budgeted at September 1st. We are really just in the very initial stages and nothing to report at the end of Q1. The business management consulting study, that was estimated at a cost of about $5,000 of staff time, and then the actual cost for the study to be involved in that study with other municipalities across the province. We are excited about participating in that. We've had some initial discussions with BMA Management Consulting, and just looking at the various options that the county can produce. Of those include the opportunities for our lower tier municipalities as well, so we will be gaining more information and be reporting on that. With respect to the electronic records management, the Legislative Division and the Information Technology Services Division have certainly had discussions as we move forward into that, and part of that is we're moving forward with a pilot project with utilizing Microsoft and SharePoint, and the Records Management Committee will have an opportunity to demo that SharePoint application for 3 months as part of this pilot. So looking at that as one option, and then certainly at the end of that pilot, then what is deemed to be to move forward would become part of a request for proposal. And those funds have been raised over past years and included in our reserves. And we continue to review best practices in other municipalities regarding our e-agenda solutions to bring you better technology and better opportunities. The Information Technology Services Strategic Plan is one that we've wanted to review. The current plan that was adopted by this council, reviewing that and seeing how it may need to be updated and brought forward, and then in conjunction with looking at the initiatives that'll strengthen the core IT services. And that is underway as part of our projects in 2016. And the unified communications, we still have included that as part of our Microsoft products as we are developing them. And I would say out of our 7 projects, we were able to present an update on our IT services to our senior management a week ago, and we certainly have an ambitious schedule. Much of it is with pilot projects with Microsoft, so we are managing that workload, and it is expected to proceed in Q2, but it will be with caution, and there will be further update on that as we move forward.
Okay, thank you, Betty Ann. Questions from committee? Ann?
For asset management, I was just wondering, everybody's working on it, it seems. So are you anticipating some items that might have to be moved from operations to capital as you look at it? Were you referring to that?
What we're looking at is, if you recall, our 2016 budget and every budget that the county has prepared up to this date has been a combined budget. So you would receive the capital forecasts for the 5 years, and then from that would be incorporated into the operations. We believe we're at a point in time where they should actually be looked at separately, not necessarily a capital levy, although that can be entertained, but that council has more details as to what the operations and then what the impact of just capital alone will have on that. And the asset management plan, as you will recall, the current one that we completed did not include all of our assets. It wasn't required at the time. So our housing and transportation in particularly. So the plan that you will be receiving this year that we're updating includes all of our assets and has been a large undertaking, and then also updating any of the indexing and the ratings that we currently have. So our goal, although as we've indicated, is that working on the template and how that's going to look for you is not done, but that's our goal, is to have capital and operations separated initially and then brought together as a consolidated document.
Anything else for Betty Ann? Okay, thank you. HR. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, so I'm pleased to present the results for Human Resources for the Q1 period. Our turnover rate, FTE, headcount are tracking on, as are our sick time, WSIB, and percentage of unionized staff. WSIB claims are probably a little bit higher as where we'd like them to be, and certainly that OSHA recordable rate is higher. That being said, we had numbers similar to that last year, and then towards the end of the year they leveled out. So it's a snapshot in time. There's not a high severity rate with those, so that's the good news. But the fact that we're continuing to have incidents is something that we're certainly taking a look at. And our mock health and safety audit that's currently being conducted and to be completed in May certainly will help some of those areas. So, as our CAO had already spoken to, well underway with our Loyalist Leadership Program, and our group has 3 staff members currently, 2 in cohort 3, and 1 in cohort 4 that are enjoying the benefits of that training. Corporate succession plan, as we had talked about previously, is linked to the performance management plan that we're going to be developing. Are waiting for the upgrades for workflows in our HRM system, and it's going to be hard to move forward with that particular area until we know what that looks like. So we have identified this as a potential area to move into 2017, depending on what happens with the performance management form piece of this project. The performance appraisal system underway in Q1, and we're hoping to have it completed in Q2. Corporate training and professional development, we have a new employee orientation that has now been completed and continuing, and Avante training module live Q1. So we've done quite a bit of upgrading in our Avante module, which the team has really worked very hard to have happen. And so with Avante, we actually have rolled out a new scheduling module, and last week that went live in EMS, and in May it's going to go live into long-term care. So that was a very large undertaking. And been undertaking our e-recruitment, and all of the training now has been done to all of our recruiters, and there were close to 100, and that module is moving forward in May. So we're really pleased with that as well. We also are about a leadership training that is taken on to our loyalist training that we have, and we'll be rolling that out to our leadership at the end of May. So there's a lot happening for success in the Q2 piece. The 5-year strategic HR plan has been reviewed, and the senior management team next for their review and input. As we know, there is a realignment of management of paramedic services and long-term care staff functions, and so currently the joint steering committee that was created between the county Ray to conduct a fulsome review of both of those service delivery models is currently underway and anticipated to take 6 to 8 months to complete, and the meetings are currently underway. Legislative compliance, so we're currently completing the processes for the current system and the R and the hands of purchasing to conduct job evaluation, pay equity, and market review, and with an anticipated start of that project to be Q3. And as I mentioned earlier, the legislative compliance, the work well is currently underway and almost complete, and those results will be going out to department heads in Q2, and plans will be put in place to address those results in Q3 and Q4. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne. Questions for Marianne? Hearing none. Planning and development. Chris.
The report is split into 2 parts. The first is the planning division, policy and economic development. So I'll begin by touching on some of the highlights from the key performance indicators, and then talk about a summary of some of the projects that we're working on and where we're at. If you look at the key performance indicators, we track a number of applications that we have per somewhat more quarter. We'll also track a number of professional written that we have as well. There's a number of features here that we actually track in our time tracker. We ask our staff to track how much time they spend on applications, special projects, policy work for others, and so on. And so if you get down into community landowner consultation with local staff, writing professional reports, so on, those numbers are about where they're expected to be. The one thing that is a little bit encouraging is that in terms of the amount of time or the legislative number of applications that we process in the legislative time frame, our goal up to 75%, we're not quite there yet. It's encouraging that today we've gone up from 71% from 62% that was in 2000 in the first quarter. So I think what there is we've had new staff who've been up and running for over a year now. They're all hired, and so some ability to work more quickly at it. One of the other results that you'll see as a result of projects, you'll see that one of the reasons we created the hubs is to allow us to free up a bit more time from planners, and also the planners to work on some of those bigger plans that our local municipalities wanted to have done. Is, I think, expanded certifications and this idea we can be more helpful outside of just the applications. And as you'll see from that, those numbers are encouraging. We expected to show that in terms of total number of hours, we're spending at least 10% of our time on that, up from 6% of our time in 2015, and in fact we're roughly around just shy of 13% in terms of reaching out to do some of the other more meaningful work. So The KPIs, I think, are maybe showing KPIs are helpful, and we are trying to change and broaden our functions with some of those other important things that the municipality wants to have done. So now I'll go to the actual summary, and I just need to reduce the size of the window slightly. And I lost my... I lost my bar on the bottom. Do you see the zoom bar? Sorry.
I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
Trying to
Let me go.
to the right click. Do the right click.
I'll just pull this over. There. That's good. That'll work. So in terms of the major initiatives, there's 9 of them, and the first, as you're aware, is the restructuring of the service around the regional hub model. In the Portland office, one remaining piece is the recruitment of the planning tech for currently under recruitment and should be a couple of months. And the sole purpose, main purpose is to provide administrative support, again, freeing up some of the planning staff to do some of the local project work, but additionally to act as that one-stop shopping for the Lakeshore if somebody comes in and they're interested in making inquiries out where they go for business help, business assistance, grants and loans, and so on and so forth. And so as part of that process, then our economic development people have been in contact with our land use people to ensure that that person at that front desk shares the characteristics and traits that we need for excellent customer service, and that's underway. In terms of ways to improve efficiency, we developed the customer satisfaction survey and are currently collecting information. Some of the reports back from that you've seen in our operational review our operations update are quite encouraging. And additionally, we're working on developing a customer complaint process as well for people who are dissatisfied, where you go, how you can take it, and so on and so forth. We've been working in Northern Bruce Peninsula and trying to come to sort of a common understanding about hazard mapping and additionally natural heritage issues and the like. And as a result of that, we've been participating in their steering committee up there. It's made up of council and also representatives from the public. And the first stage of that was to set down what are the basic criteria for what we should be mapping. And so there's a report coming back to council at this ATP to give an update and a report from that steering committee and to make some recommendations in terms of next steps of phase 2, which involves some mapping to be done through the pilot project. There was an indication in the operational review that it's a reference to the Bruce County lens and to what extent that applies to land use planning. So we're in discussions currently with our land use planning team in terms of what this means for the official plan and the official plan review. There's a number of issues reports that went to council beginning about 1.5 years ago. As a result of that, we decided to branch out and start moving on the hazard issues, which came up as one of the major issues. We're having discussions in terms of plain language, discussions in terms of a further review of those policies with regard to the new PPS and what it means particularly for the rural and agricultural areas. We've been engaged with here in Kinloss in terms of a potential zoning bylaw update. At this point, review of their own official plan, which they've hired a consultant to undertake. And if that's completed by here in Kinloss in 2016, we're ready to start moving, but if not, 2017 is fine as well. We completed a terms of reference for Kincardine for their in review. Also, we suggested to Kincardine that they may look at doing a secondary plan for their business park. There's about 800 acres that were annexed by Kincardine Township a number of years ago to allow for industrial and commercial expansion. But there's issues there with regard to servicing in long term, and so potentially we would like to include that within the 5-year review as well. Our senior planner in the Northern Office has been working with South Bruce Peninsula regarding their review and update of their official plan. We've provided them with a number of issues reports in terms of what should be looked at, a number of recommendations in terms of population projections and so on, where the town is going, to try to set the back process involving a public review and statutory review through the planning process. Similarly, discussions with Walker are planning to do their 5-year review, and so this seems to be underway with an anticipated completion in Q3. And of course, the 5-year review of the plan I've mentioned, currently we're working on the hazard lands issues specifically, and discussions with our staff in plain language and so on and so forth. I have no idea why I keep on expanding the. We'll go back. Nope.
I don't know what you keep doing.
I tried to click the mouse consistently and randomly, and I just it's a nervous. I can make it bigger. So I know I can do that.
Mr. Warden, if I may, while Chris is adjusting that, we're at 11.
Okay, so we have to go into camera to do an issue before, at this point, close for the Bruce County Jail pursuant to Section 239(2)A of the Municipal Act of the property of the municipality of Lord, and a review of the 2015 financial statements pursuant to Section 2B Municipal Act and related to personal matters. I need a mover and seconder to go in. Paul and Ann. All those in favor? Opposed, if any. We are now enclosed.